Welcome to the Record Player, everybody. I am thrilled today to have with us a man who is partly responsible for some of the absolute greatest music in Canada's history. To his fans, he's simply known as The Voice, and it is a voice that is unmistakable on classics like Wind 'Em Up, On the Loose, or The Flyer. He is, of course, Mr. Michael Sadler from Saga. How are you, Michael?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
I'm excellent. I know you are getting ready to go back out on the road and carry on probably what has now, after 2 years off, turned into the longest Saga tour in history.
The longest pause in the Saga.
Yeah. How are you itching to get back on stage? I mean, how badly do you guys?
Oh yeah, there's no question. I mean, if we take, if we're doing a tour and it takes a 2-week rest, you're itching to get back on. So you can imagine after 2 years, we love playing live. We always have. We've been known for our live performance, and it's just something. When we make a record, we can't wait to get back on the road and perform, and vice versa. But right now, it's long overdue. So yeah, we're kind of itching to get back out there.
We did a feature in our group about a month ago on Saga, and of course, the reaction that we got underneath was mixed from everything from I saw them live at Maple Leaf Gardens with Coney Hatch or whoever it was, and that was the old guys.
Aldo Nova, I think it was.
Aldo Nova. The old guys. The old guys were saying that, and then the even older guys were saying, "Oh, I saw them live at Shingusi Secondary School in Brampton,
in 1878."
Yeah, and then there was guys that were, "Oh, I saw them both. I saw both those shows." The main thing that I got out of everybody who was making comments like that was it was the same show, whether you were at the Gardens or whether you were at Ching School. I mean, it was, you guys have the same energy on stage no matter what.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, you go on stage, you give it 110%. It doesn't matter. It could be 5, 50, 5,000, 50,000. It is the same show. It's all about, we just enjoy playing. We enjoy the music that we've created. And, I've often been asked, do you get sick of playing songs like Wind 'Em Up and On the Loose? You've been playing for so long. No, I mean, if you get sick of playing stuff like you shouldn't have written a song like that in the first place, No, it's the same as you say. It's the same energy, same intensity, and no matter the size of the audience, they deserve that from you. And we can't really hold back. We can't contain ourselves. We're like a bunch of kids. Can we go on stage now? Can we go on stage now? So it never gets tired. It's really strange, but. Yeah.
When you guys first started out, I mean, in the early days, you were considered prog rock. I mean, that was kind of what you got labeled as. Did you guys label yourselves as that? Did you guys think of yourselves as prog rock? I mean, when I think of prog
rock, no, I don't. No, I don't think so. I think just a really high energy rock band with prog influences for sure. But I mean, we've kind of been an enigma for critics and people that have tried to label the band, because it, in a way. Reviewers and critics need to have some kind of genre or some kind of label to put on a new band, and it ended up just being, when they try to describe it, they just go, let's just say it's Saga music, because you can hear influences if you look for them, but I don't think there's any time when you can listen to a piece of music that we've created and go, oh, that one sounds like so and so, or that sounds like so and so. Like I said, the influences are there, but I don't consider us a traditional prog band, as it were. I mean, the more ethereal passages of music and that kind of thing. I think the thing that sets it apart is the rock influence, and perhaps from the beginning, the sort of funky aspect, of like the R&B funky stuff that came from Steve Nagus originally. But the rhythm side of the band is very important to us, and the energy in the tracks. And we can get very musical when we want to be. But I think the bottom line is it's about the song and the structure of the song, and you can have your musical bit, but just we don't meander too long on things like that. So I don't consider us a progressive band per se. We're a prog influenced or influenced by prog kind of band, but it's Saga music, I guess.
They used to say the same thing about Rush. I mean, but yeah. Rush's first single, In the Mood, was just a straight ahead rock and roll song. And then they started calling them prog rock, and coincidentally also played Chingusi High School gym.
Didn't we all?
We, I always felt that, did you guys sort of take off outside of Canada first? I mean, did you guys had success in other places in, you know,
yeah, large scale success outside of Canada. I mean, you know, we got our roots going in Canada, extensive, you know, club shows and touring. But the real, I guess, commercial success or widespread success happened in Europe, specifically Germany and Puerto Rico at the same time. Now, that's kind of a what, you know, so, you know, both ends of the spectrum. I think, you know, why Puerto Rico and Germany. I think the best way to describe or explanation would be, for me, perhaps the classical or epic sound of the band appealed to the Europeans, the deep roots in classical music over there. And the rhythmic side of the band I referred to perhaps, you know, appealed to the Puerto Ricans and the Hispanic community. So I think between the two, it just seemed really strange. We released the first album and we were getting so much attention in Germany and selling a lot of imports that the record company Polydor at the time kind of went, well, wait a minute, who are these guys? They're selling a lot of import records. Let's you know, sign them up and get a proper commercial release. Mm-hmm. And the same thing happened in Puerto Rico. The first time we went down there, we sold out the baseball or the basketball hall, like 6,000 or 7,000 people. And we had sold, I think, 5 copies on the island. And so everybody was copying and then giving it to their friends, and it spread really fast. So by the time we got down there, we were like almost superstars, and we'd never been there. And like I said, only about a handful of records had been sold at the time. But and it grew from there. And in Europe just spread out of Germany originally. But you know, and people say, well, why are you so much bigger there than in North America, specifically, you know, at home or the States? And it really comes down to following the market at the beginning, which was Germany specific, and did a lot of touring there because that's where the market was. That's where you're selling records. So that's why it seems to be kind of a little out of balance in terms of the awareness of the band and the level of notoriety, as it were.
When Canada and the US finally did kind of commercially catch on, it caught on in a big way. This was the album Worlds Apart. This album, probably my real introduction to Saga at the time, other than what I had heard on the radio from the previous few. You got to work with Rupert Hein as the producer on this record for the first time. Yeah. And he, of course, is a well-known producer who's worked with everybody from Rush, Stevie Nicks, Waterboys, Tina Turner. Myself being a big Genesis fan, he worked with Anthony Phillips on his first couple of solo records as well. And
not to mention Rupert's solo stuff, which is like well outside the box. Yeah.
And he produced what I think, other than your record, of course, is one of the greatest records ever. The Fix, Reach the Beach. I could listen to that album over and over, and that's a Rupert Hein album.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah.
How did he change things for the band? I mean, how did he sort of step in and say, "This is where we're going, and we're going to get North America"?
I don't know if it was a matter of saying, you know, let's go for North America or play catch up or whatever. I think he was just his way of, he looked at the band, he listened to the music, and he saw, he liked what he heard. And I think it was just a matter of how can I fine tune this and insert his thoughts and his ideas. We went into the studio with him and Stephen Taylor with the songs very well rehearsed. We knew exactly which song. It wasn't a matter of let's record 30 songs and choose the ones we want. We knew what we pounded those songs. We lived in a house in England in Maidenhead, not too far from the studio, and just woke up every day and essentially just, you know, one song after another, we just work it till we were ready for the studio. So when we got there, it really was just a matter of Rupert and Stephen applying their ideas and putting the sort of fairy dust on them. And I mean, the two of them together is such a team. They worked together so much that they were so intuitive of one another. And I mean, to the point where I remember sitting back and watching one day, the two of them listening back to something. And the track stopped, and Rupert just kind of looked over at Steve. He didn't say a word, and Steve looked at him, and he leaned forward and twiddled one of the knobs, and they played it back again, and they just looked at each other and kind of nodded without a word being said. And I thought, wow, these guys have worked together before. And I heard the difference too. But it was, I remember the first meeting, sitting down in the studio, and Rupert would go one by one. It's like, let's talk about the drums. You know, this is what I hear, da, da, da. This is what I hear with the guitar, this, and he left the vocals to last. And I guess the biggest change for me vocally was Rupert saying, okay, Michael, let's talk about the vocals. And I'm like, he said, yeah, you saved me for last. Thank you.
Yeah.
He said, okay, look, we know you can sing. Now I want you to forget everything you've learned. And I went,
Thanks.
okay. And I think all he meant was, you know, I had the technique down. I was in a church choir when I was young for about 7, 8, 9 years. So I knew all of that. I was disciplined in that respect, but I carried that through into into rock music, as it were. He said, we know you can sing. Now forget that. Now just sing. Just don't think about it. Feel the song, feel the lyric. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. We're in a recording studio. If you need to do it again, you do it again. But just you know, feel it, and just trust your talents that you have worked on, and the technical side of things. Just trust that will happen automatically. And as soon as I started doing that, that was the turning point in terms of the way I approach singing, and just more relaxed, and yeah, more for the sake of the song, and you know, really selling the lyric and feeling the lyric when I sang. So that was a big turning point for me personally. And I think that applied, you know, across the board really to everybody in the band, you know, especially to Ian as well. It's like, just when it comes time to solo, just do whatever you want. We'll record, you know, 6 or 7 of them, and just, you know, 9 times out of 10, the first or second one will be the best one, but feel free to just, you know, go for it. So it really was semi-liberating. But like I say, I mean, we were so prepared song-wise, that it was you know, a lot of time for experimentation, trying strange sounds, strange singing, positioning. I sang on the loose about 25 or 30 feet in the air in the barn. It was farmyard studio, so the barn had been converted into the live room, and I was sitting on a beam about 25, 30 feet in the air. For that sense of angst, I guess, which you wanted. So
Here?
and it worked, you know. Yeah, and at the middle of famously the story that I tell about Wind Him Up, the middle section when it gets very quiet, and I sing the chorus in like a you just woke up kind of voice, is because I had just woken up. The accommodations were the old stables, which is right across the parking lot, and I awoke to the sound of the door opening, the door to my room one morning. And the engineer opened the door. I saw him walk in with headphones and a boom mic stand and the mic, and he pulled it down in front. I'm laying in bed still, and I had been dead asleep 5 minutes before that. He lowered it down to position it in front of my face, put the headphones on me. Next thing I can hear Stephen Taylor in the studio across the parking lot. Good morning, Michael. Wind him up. Give you about 8 ball. You know the song. Just sing when you know where you are. I was like, okay. And I heard the song, you know, that section start. And it came up, and I just wind him up. Well, like one time through, literally, the door opened, off go the headphones, you know, the microphone, the cables, everything, door shuts, and I was like, what just happened? I'm just in this fog. I put my house coat on, you know, went across the park, and I walked into the control rooms. Rupert's sitting there with Stephen, and morning. He said, what is it? Listen to this. Because we had tried it the night before many times to get exactly what Rupert was looking for in the quality of voice and the performance, and it wasn't quite working. He said, you know, let's leave it for now, and we'll try it again later when it feels right. And so, unbeknownst to me, they had discussed the way to do it, and he said, "Listen to this." And I listened back, and I thought, "Son of a," I said, "You got you." So you sat there thinking the best way to get a sort of "I just woke up" sounding voice is get me when I just woke up, and don't warn me, because if you think about it, then you're going to prepare for it. So I was totally unprepared for it, and that's, you know, that's just an example of the kinds of things that they would come up with, and just whatever they could hear you'd have to they work on to recreate how can we get that kind of sound or voice or drum or whatever.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter. There was no limit to the imagination and ways to get to achieve whatever they were hearing. So
The frightening thing is that I'm always going to love that song, but now I'm going to have that image in my head every time I
of me waking up in the morning,
laying in bed in your underwear.
Yeah. No, whoa. Now you've played an image. Thank you. No, my pajamas done up tonight.
Yes, of course. Sorry. After you guys announced your what we assumed was your farewell tour a few years ago, the last thing I was expecting was any kind of new music, was a new record. I thought it was just a tour. You guys were out. I guess during the time, was it during the time off that you recorded this Symmetry?
On and off, yeah. I mean, it was, if anything, it gave us the chance. We were talking about doing this kind of record for some time. And
which is for anybody that doesn't know, it's a lot of some new stuff, but it's also reworkings of older stuff.
It's reworkings of older tracks in different instrumentation, cello and basic keyboards, piano, accordion. I was going to say bagpipes. No, there's no bagpipes on there. But yeah, it's reimagining. So it's not an acoustic unplugged record per se. It's much more than that. But yeah, it was a great chance to work on a record like that because we're basically stuck at home, isolated, and everybody recorded their own tracks, left to their own devices. The beauty of it was these were existing songs which we knew already, so it was just up to each individual to reinvent not their part per se, but the way they approached the part. Like Ian did, exclusively acoustic guitar. And I think he and I had, I won't say the most difficult time, but translating all his electric stuff into acoustic is not easy, especially soloing, and some of the faster licks on acoustic it's much more difficult. If you ask a guitar player, it's quite challenging. And I had to adjust the vocals, obviously, because it couldn't be as bombastic as it were. So I had to, in some cases, reinvent the melody a little bit. And just my approach to singing the parts. So it made for an almost new sounding, well, at least version of the songs, but some of them sound so fresh, it's like a brand new song. So it was challenging, but extremely rewarding at the end of the day. Very, very pleased with the result. And I think the fans were, once people realized that it wasn't just Saga going unplugged, right, and just leaving it at that and doing the song the way it existed, we had fun with it and just shook it up a little bit. So.
What I obviously we always hope, if any fan of the band is going to hope that there's going to be something else in the future, but it almost feels like a bookend. I don't want it to feel like a bookend, but it almost feels like a bookend to the whole saga.
It almost, the saga, the saga of Saga. One would think so, wouldn't one? Yes. Yeah. Rather. But then again, I if it weren't for all these creative ideas just dancing around in my head, there's still some creative stuff there. We were all individually writing all the time and coming up with ideas and thoughts. So when the time is right, I'm pretty sure there's another one there. Pretty sure.
You're working on you have a new project that you're also working on. I don't know if you're working on it now or if you have done it during the pandemic, called Project. Tell me a little bit about that and how that got started.
It's fun. It's Jonathan Mover is the brainchild of it. He has some background with a lot of people. I had not known Jonathan Mover before this. He called me up one day out of the blue, and he had this idea to put together a lineup of, I guess, seasoned prog veterans who'd been in the business, quite some time and had their own notoriety by their own standards, and just getting together and playing. It's not a tribute band per se. It's a tribute band like an AC/DC tribute band or Bon Jovi tribute band or Genesis tribute band. You'll want to sound obviously exactly like them, and get the singer to sound as much as humanly possible like the singer of those respective bands, and play all of their material. Yeah. This is more an homage to the genre. So it's five prog veterans playing our not versions, because you've got to, for the prog audience, you've got to play pretty much note for note.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a particular.
Yeah, it's very fussy audience. Let's put it that way. That's a polite way of putting it. Yeah, and playing these songs that we were either touched us individually, you know, in our formative years, or whatever. But they're songs by our peers that we also listen to, and we just came up with a selection of songs for the set that kind of meant something to everybody, that we could, and we all agreed on, you know, 99% of them. So it's a fun project, and especially for me, you know, it gives me a chance to sing these other songs outside of the not restrictions and boundaries of Saga, but there's a certain way I approach singing with the band. Here I am singing someone else's existing parts, and bringing myself into, again, you can't mess with the melody too much. You certainly can't mess with the lyrics or anything, you know, but putting as much of myself into it as possible. And it was fun to sing in a not different style, but you know, trying to capture the essence of the song with my voice, as it were. So, as again, like with Symmetry, it was as challenging as it is rewarding. It's a hell of a lot of fun, I can tell you that much. There's songs I've always wanted to sing. Song like Squonk from Genesis, I've been wanting to sing that song for the longest time. ELP, Pink Floyd, things that people probably may not expect me to sing, but there I am doing it.
That's how much I would like to see that, Michael.
It's a lot of fun. It really is. And these guys, it's remarkable. I just stand back, and I do very little other than sing. I don't need to, because it's just covered. And watching these guys play when we're rehearsing, it's just like, wow. So, I mean, if it can impress me, and I'm very fussy, I think people really enjoy it. Prog fans will definitely be. But again, we're going to be under such a microscope when we go out with this stuff and go on stage and play these classics that we better be careful.
I mentioned off the top, going back out on the road with Saga, finishing up the tour. You're doing something that not a lot of I've never seen before, where you're kind of opening for yourselves. You have Pockets, which is the name Saga used to be called. When you guys first started, the band was called Pockets. You guys come out on stage and do a little set as Pockets.
Yeah, for the anniversary tour, 2017, we had a backdrop that was like an old library, like a grown over library, much like you kind of see on Symmetry. And that was a backdrop which we set up in front of, and it was just acoustic instruments, 2 pianos for myself and Jim Gilmore. Mike Thorne basically played pots and pans and anything that would make a noise set up on a table, and, you know, acoustic bass and acoustic guitar. And we came out, and I mean, the way I would speak to the audience was like, we were Pockets and we were the opening act, and it was very nice of Saga to let us be the support on this tour and that kind of thing. I mean, it was going over so well. I mean, people were subscribing to it so well. They actually were showing up with Pockets t-shirts. There was a Pockets fan club in the front row. It got to that point. It was a lot of fun to do. And then we would play like 45 minutes or so. You know, like with Symmetry, reimagined versions of the songs. And then we leave the stage and wait a little bit, and then we change clothes and come out as Saga and thank the opening act for. But it was fun, you know. Yes, essentially opening for ourselves, but it was a fun way to do the tour. So you're kind of doing 2 different shows in the same night. So, and I think you know, I think we were more nervous going on for the Pocket set than we were for the Saga show, really, because it's more bare bones and you're more, you know, you're laying it all out there, and it's like, hi everybody, you know, it's good.
What I'd like to see you try next is a way to get Pockets on the stage with Saga. Figure that out, and I'll.
Holograms is the way to do that.
I want to thank you so much for being with us today, talking about Saga, talking about the new project. Thanks so much for taking the time for us. You are one of those voices of my youth that probably everyone else in the country just recognizes immediately. I hope you guys take care and you're safe out on the road, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. You had a good chat.
Thanks, Michael.
Take care.